All right. So, welcome.
Buenos tardes.
So, I'll put this note in the chat. And what we're going to talk about today.
What's going on, Dean?
Pardon?
What's going on, Dean? How you doing today?
Just trying to figure out how we're going to finish the semester off.
Well, we almost finished though.
Yep.
It will take some time.
Okay. All right.
Check if no one's texting me real quick.
So
Okay.
put this in the chat just so there's a record for anybody who comes in later or something like that. Test 4 will open later this afternoon, as previously on WebAssign. It will be open until next weekend. If you have any specific questions about how much time or whatever, all of that is in the online tests document on Genzabar e-learning, whatever you want to call it. So I would suggest referring to that. These are in that document, but I will restate them because apparently the warnings were not taken to heart. Definitely don't use Internet Explorer for WebAssign stuff, or anything. Internet Explorer is terrible. Just don't do it. Safari is a little better, but I still wouldn't suggest it. The two that I have seen no problems with are Chrome and Firefox, both of which are free to download. I personally use Chrome on everything, my computers, my mobile devices.
Okay.
So, and I have not seen any issues with Chrome. Most of the issues I see come from Internet Explorer, mainly because of the security settings are very wonky with Internet Explorer, so just don't do it. I mean, it's not a good idea. And also, do not wait until an hour before it closes to do it. I would suggest doing the first attempt in the next couple days, probably before Tuesday, and then save the other attempt for sometime later. I mean, you can blow through them both immediately if you want, but I would definitely at least do the first attempt in the next few days.
Okay.
Don't put it off because some issue will happen and you'll be emailing me at midnight thinking that I'm awake, which is unlikely. And I can't help at that point. So much better to get it taken care of well before then.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the seniors that's supposed to be taking their final exam this week coming up, that belongs to us as well.
I'm sorry?
Seniors have to take their finals this week coming up.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like the tests and stuff, like what are we doing for next week?
So with the senior stuff, yeah, y'all stuff has to be in earlier. So you obviously need to have it done well before then. And the final exam is going to be similar. I will open it up on Monday, but it will also be open for everyone as a whole. So for those of you who don't need to take it next week, you do not have to take it. But obviously, yeah, if you're a senior, you have to have the test for, and we'll have to have the final in before then as well. So I was going to go over the final exam stuff on Monday, because technically we're starting review for all of that on Monday. But yeah, so I mean, good question. What is the actual day for that? Let me check on that right now. First, so so it looks like I think the grades are due probably on Tuesday. So if you are a senior taking your final, how many seniors do we have in here, by the way?
Well, I'm one of them.
Is a senior. Anybody?
Sorry, what happened? I logged into the wrong class.
He was asking how many seniors in the class, but I think it's just 3 of them.
Okay, no, so I actually literally just got an email like 2 minutes ago, because I thought they had talked about extending this, and they did, because previously final grades were supposed to be done by Tuesday, but so senior final exams will be given and coordinated between April 27th and May 1st, so next week. Senior final grades must be entered in the following Monday. So it looks like what's going to be happening is the test 4 won't actually be any different for seniors. It'll be open the entire, from this Friday through next weekend. So you'll have that entire time to do it. But the final exam will also open up on Monday, and seniors will have to have it in by that same time, Sunday night. Technically, could be Monday morning at like 8 a.m. or something, but I have to have all the grades in by noon. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and write that in the chat. Test 4 open 4/24 through 5/3. Open 7. Through 5. All right. So posted in the chat. Test 4 will open sometime later this afternoon through next Sunday. So you'll have a little over a week. Final exam will open 4/27 through 5/3. And I would suggest doing that during, especially the final exam, doing that like during one of my office hours days on Tuesday or Thursday. That way, if you have a question, I will be at my computer and ready to answer it. If you take it very late in the evening, I might have gone to bed. So I'll make that suggestion, but it is ultimately up to you.
I have a question.
Yes.
For labs, since I had absences to do the track meets, we didn't do any more labs.
So labs, because a significant portion of it was supposed to be presentations, and this whole situation has pretty much thrown all of that out. It's going to be done kind of on a individual basis. If you have specific questions for your cases, feel free to email me or message me about that. Likely it will be partially tied to the course. So if you were doing well in lab, and you showed up, you did everything, it will likely stand on its own. If you had some excused absences and there were some issues there, then it will kind of get tied into your class. Otherwise, if you weren't here for either one, the lab or the class, I don't know how much can really be done. We'll put it that way. But regardless, I'm obviously taking the everything into account. So I am not trying to screw anybody, and that's obviously not my goal. I will be taking any excuse I can to make the lab not an issue. We have a faculty meeting today about it that I have some questions for, but for the most part, if you did either the labs or the class, it is unlikely that you will not pass. As far as making A's and stuff, I haven't determined if I'm going to be doing it more pass-fail or that kind of thing. But there won't be any more labs, put it that way.
Dr. Dean, regarding that, and not really the lab part, because I understood lab part pretty good, but so it's more for the class. So when it comes to the homework specifically, I know me and a couple of the other students, no particular names, obviously no discretion, but right. But so when it comes to more for scores like 100, because like it's kind of hard to get 100 on some of those, you wouldn't be grading them that hard, I think. Is that what you're kind of hinting at? Because like I don't know about 100.
This is something that I talked about earlier on.
Because obviously
the raw scores that you see in like if you were to take the raw scores that you get from your homework assignments and all of that stuff, and you were to calculate your grade, the grade that you calculate would be significantly or noticeably lower than the grade that will appear after I calculate it. This is part of the thing why people keep asking me, what's my grade? I don't do constant calculations for two reasons. One, it's
a pain.
A big deal to do it for individuals. My thing is designed to do it in one big sweep. But also, I can't really apply my, we'll call it forgiveness or my curving until I have everything in. So
yes, sir.
If you calculate that you've got a mid D just from your raw scores, it's very likely that you would actually receive an A after all of that stuff. So you could still get, I'm specifically not using detailed language here because then, I'm required to be at a specific thing and held to it.
Right.
The main point is I do everything I can to help out.
Okay.
And the more that you give me,
the more you can help out.
easier it is to help you out. I will put it that way.
Gotcha.
So I got a question.
Don't just blow off the homework.
Oh, nah. Trust me, all them finna get done. You know that.
I have a
So,
question.
yes.
So say, I know it says like overall score on there or whatever. Say you got like, just giving a random number. I'm trying to think of one. A 35.65 on there.
Okay.
That's failing, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that y'all
I'm
asked
just
me
saying
at the end
without
of
the
last
curve,
semester,
without all the extra stuff.
and I guess didn't translate. So look at a few things. let's see.
That's not what I got. I'm just saying a random number. I'm just
So-
making that statement. I don't got that.
That's
The
what I got.
tests- So physics, the test number 2, we'll just look at. Each try has a total of 20 points on it. Well, if you got an A on your first one and didn't even care to take the other 2, then what it looks like to your average is that out of those 60 points, you got 20 points. Even though it was 100% on that one test, it looks like you got a 33. So you cannot look at your total percentage and that it does not translate correctly, okay? And this is, again, part of the issue is you have to think about it. Say, okay, to figure out my test grade for test 2, I take the highest value. So in that case, you could have gotten 20 points out of 20 on the first one, and then 0 out of 20 and 0 out of 20. Well, the grade book in here doesn't know that. It doesn't, I can't take the highest of these 3. So it doesn't know that. So all it does is says, hey, here's 60 total points. The person only got 20 out of those. So it's kind of stupid. And comparing that to like the homework assignments all have between like 10 and 15 points on them. Well, that means that you might have all of your homeworks are like 50 points total. But those 2 tests that you didn't take because you had a 0, or let's just do it like that. Let's say all of your homeworks are 50 points. And this is just with one test. You got 20 out of 20, 0 out of 20, 0 out of 20. If you got 100% on your homework and 100% on one test, if that's the only grades you have, what is your grade in the class?
An A.
100% an A. But what does it calculate your percentage to be? Well, it would calculate that to be 70 over what's 50 plus 60?
110.
A 30?
I think it's going to be about a 64%.
Oh, no.
So,
Cannot do that.
So, and this is kind of what I'm trying to get across here is that the test is not like, because these extra points don't matter, don't trust that percentage in WebAssign. You can use the grades in WebAssign to calculate it, but you can't just say, oh, what's my percentage? I had a student last year come to me crying because she thought, she was failing because her thing said like 64%. And then when I calculated it, she had like 101 in the class. Like, they're not, you can't just look at that and say, yeah, that's it. And that's the problem with calculating everything, is because I give you guys more room to fail and have some, like I said, forgiveness is what I call it. But I mean, other teachers wouldn't necessarily do 3 attempts on a test. Like, does anybody else do that?
No,
No.
it's either
I
when
was
you
about to say,
take
I
it, you either
don't
pass
think
it
I
then or
Maybe
don't think I've
two,
heard of anybody else
maybe
that
two.
does. You can take
Yeah,
this
maybe
test
two.
3 times, and I will give you the highest version. So that's why you can't just accept that for what it is, but you can calculate it using that stuff. So I guess what I'm probably going to do is, because we're going to be running out of time, I want to do the review for test 4 today, but lots of legitimate questions popping up, which is fun. So we can either I can either set up a new Zoom meeting, and we can do into my office hours. We can do test review, or I can record one and go over what I think is applicable and post it to YouTube. So what do you guys think about that? Would you like
YouTube.
You'd like to
and
have an
office hours.
interactive review or a
Pretty.
A recorded review? And I will say this test should not be hard, for the love. The math going on in this test is so much lower key than everything else we've been through. Partially because we didn't get through everything I had planned. So keep that in mind. Oh, also, let me share something. And tell me if anyone notices anything about Is there anything that piques your interest about this screen?
Everything due May 3rd?
Everything is due May 3rd, yeah. So what about this area?
All the chapters?
What about
It's
the
wet.
chapters?
We don't gotta do them.
Wet.
We
It's
don't
only-
have chapter 23 and 24 homework anymore.
Yeah.
So there were
I was-
2 more homework chapters up there, but they were taken down.
Thank you. Let me check something then since you took them down.
I feel like I just did chapter 3 yesterday. Chapter
I
23
did
yesterday.
definitely did chapter 23 because I
Right, and I made
told
good on
you
that, Dr.
Dude,
D.
I was
Not to
I was
do.
about to finish them too because I did.
There ain't no way I made an 80
But
on
it's
that
a
one
blessing.
test.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
So
But that
what
was
this also means is that the
Now I'm ready.
test
Now I'm waiting for that test
will
going on.
not be over chapter 23 or 24.
That means it's over 22.
That's correct. With a little bit.
Yes,
from-
sir.
That's great.
Yes, sir. Come
It's
on,
a
man.
little bit from chapter.
Woo!
Let's see. There's a little bit from like chapter 21 where we just talk about like basically the speed of light. And chapter where is it? And
Oh,
chapter
I have another
13
question.
that was all about waves. So frequency, amplitude, wavelength, those basic ideas. All
I
right,
have another question. What if you're in the lab but not in the class?
What do you mean?
So what if we just taking the lab and we're not taking the class?
If you were just taking the lab and not taking the class?
Yeah, so what would our grade be? Because there is a student that's not taking the class but taking the lab.
Well, I can't tell you another student's grade, can I?
I know, but I'm saying what would go on, like, what would happen? Like, will her grade just be off of, like,
So, if you're asking on behalf of her, I would suggest having her ask me directly, because I do understand that, but I can't really I can't really say anything about it because there are, concerns about
gotcha.
FERPA violations are a big deal. And if I were to even hint about the grade outcome of a specific student, that's opening myself up to a lot of potential grief, and I don't really want grief. So, yeah, I guess if that student has questions, have them contact me directly. I'm happy to discuss it, but I am, yes, aware of that situation. So,
You got my email?
about, let's see.
I just sent it like a few minutes ago, literally.
Yes, I have your email in my my list, so I can respond to that after after we get done. So okay, well, I will post a review. Like I said, this section very, very basic, especially on the math front, because the math was not terribly intricate to begin with. So don't freak out. But I will go through that, and obviously, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to go through stuff if I can, but you got to ask me. So yeah, okay.
Can you post pictures in the chat? Nope.
You post files.
You said your office hours are 4.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right before and right after this class, and then Tuesday technically from 12 to 4. However, because of the current situation and everything, I am pretty much on or close to being on all day on Tuesday and Thursday. So for test time and stuff, the next week, it is very likely that I will just be on for the next, Tuesdays and Thursday next week. So like pretty much the whole day. So if that answers your question, but otherwise, I will be in the office on that Discord app today, probably until like 4, because we have a meeting. so I'm gonna have to be doing computer stuff anyways. So I'll probably be on just that entire time. So definitely a good idea. Suggest stop on by. And again, it's either you can text in there, you can get on voice chat. You know, you can share files, you can do all that stuff. So check it out. And again, the links for all that stuff is in that going online document on Genzabar. So yeah. So I will do pardon?
Did we agree on the YouTube, or did we agree on just coming
I
to
think
class?
we agreed on the YouTube, but for the YouTube, I mean, I have to tape it anyways. So if you guys hop in to my office hours and ask me questions while I'm doing it for the next 45 minutes or so after class, then I mean, that would show up on the YouTube. So you can kind of do an interactive one if you would like to. I was just mainly asking about whether or not I needed to set up a full-on Zoom meeting, or if, I mean, even that I'm fine with. If a couple people want to, I mean, I'll send out my invite to y'all here in a little bit, and whoever wants to come can come. So let me, yeah. So yeah, I'll send out a little email if you want to join a meeting. Welcome to. Otherwise, that video will be posted online. So I understand lots of concerns. I'm trying to make this as painless as possible, I promise. But I also don't want anybody to take that as a, oh, it doesn't matter what I do, you know, because some
Nah, it ain't that type of go around.
some
Yep,
schools are very much like everybody gets an A, and I mean, it sounds great and all, but I want to have some sort of respect, especially since I just got that promotion. I don't want to completely trash the process. So trying to do good, but also take care of y'all. So yeah.
Yes, sir. And on the behalf of us, I believe we all appreciate that, especially with the homework and the tests and the